Welcome. I'm super excited to speak with you today. You've had an amazing career, a very impressive career. You're a Harvard alumni. You're very passionate about healthcare. You've started 4 companies. Can you share how you got into this?
In terms of life as an entrepreneur, I always knew I wanted to be one. I grew up with a mother who's an entrepreneur and a father who's a computer science professor. So as a result, I'm a tech entrepreneur.
What was it about software that drew you in besides your father?
To be honest, I actually didn't know much about software, even through my father. It was that I was living in San Francisco, and the median answer there is that you work on technology. Someone happened to introduce me to who became my first co-founder, and it was a software company that we started. So I just happened into it. That said, I love software because instead of impacting the lives of a couple thousand people, when I was running, for instance, a retirement community, I now can impact the lives of millions of people, which I really love.
Let's talk about Activated Insights. What problems did you want to solve with that business?
Activated Insights solves a two-sided problem. On one side, you have employers who aren't able to get the recognition that they are good employers to attract job candidates. On the other side, you have consumers who have no idea where to go find a good place for mom to live out her remaining years. And so if you're able to combine those two problems and do a kind of complicated mixture in between, then out comes Activated Insights.
Scaling a company is really hard. What were some of the challenges that you overcame?
I think the main challenge with Activated Insights is that we kept wondering if we were a recurring revenue model. That was difficult because 10 to 15% of our customers would use us every other year. And guess what? That's considered churn in the software world. So that was a major problem. The other problem is it's hard to find people who can fit the exact skill set that you need when you're a small company. So that's also hard. And then I think the third thing that's really hard is a lot of the companies that I start are inbound sales, what's called inside sales. And we usually don't get inbounds. We're calling you. And that is always hard as well.
According to Forbes, only 11% of tech executives are women. How are you able to overcome those challenges?
It is hard to find women in tech. That said, I try to staff the majority of my companies with women. It makes for a very interesting exit process, as you can imagine, because a lot of the buyers are 100% male teams. And that said, I try to overcome some of the issues by having a majority female team that is very supportive of each other.
Many founders start their company to solve a problem, like you did, but they aren't thinking about an exit. When did you know that it was time to exit?
I generally know up front that I'm not a person to be growing a company from the medium size stage to the bigger size stage. And so at some point, if it's not a recapitalization, I know that I'll be bringing in a team that's more senior than me.
You mentioned before that you considered running your own process. What made you think that you could do a process on your own?
I did consider running my own process. I mean, you're looking at a former investment banker at Goldman, and I know how to do slides from my days at McKinsey. So I thought I could do it myself, but that wasn't true.
What made you realize that you needed a partner like Software Equity Group?
Well, I've run processes in the past, so worked with different advisors. So I had the experience of knowing that a process is very helpful. I also talked to a lot of other founders and entrepreneurs, and they highly counseled having an advisor. It's very difficult being directly in touch with a group of buyers. Not only does it derail your day-to-day work and what you're doing, but also there's no buffer between you and the buyer in terms of some of these negotiations.
Yeah, every CEO weighs the cost of hiring an advisor. Can you talk about the return on investment you received by hiring Software Equity Group?
The ROI I would put at probably 10x, because I knew what prices I could get, because I had kind of softly felt it in the market. I then backed into how much more would I need to get before the fees are quote unquote worth it. And it actually wasn't that much more that made the fees worth it. And then we got over that. In fact, I think working with SEG gave us 66% more on the purchase price than I would have gotten myself.
What specific things did SEG do that made the biggest impact for you and the outcome?
I think SEG did a couple things that were very meaningful. The first is having the funnel process, and then the second is being the buffer between the buyers and sellers, so us being the sellers. So in terms of running the process, SEG started out with a universe of 150 potential buyers, got NDAs signed from between 40 to 50 of them. That then got whittled down to 12, and then got whittled down to 7. We did management team meetings, and I call it the fashion show, dating, with the 7, and then we chose 1. And that was a wonderful process. So that funnel effect, I don't think I could have done on my own. Actually, it was impossible for me to do on my own.
So many founders and CEOs think an M&A advisor's main job is to find the buyers. Would you agree with that?
I would agree, and I would disagree as well. So yes, ultimately, the impact is finding a buyer and getting the transaction closed. So 100% agree with that point. The part that I disagree with is when you have issues come up in a deal, which is, by the way, 100% of deals, it's very helpful to have an advisor there with you. In my case with Activated Insights, we had a partner who basically held up the deal at the end. And SEG was incredibly helpful in strong-arming all sides to get to a transaction close. I don't think I could have gotten the transaction closed myself. And specifically what SEG did was be that neutral third party that told them, in all seriousness, this founder is going to walk from the deal if you don't close it by a certain date. And she's going to go away, and you're going to have to find another company to buy. And that immediately closed the deal the following day.
What surprised you about the depth of work that SEG did to get your deal closed?
SEG made my company look better than it had ever looked before. And that helped a lot. You know, as a founder, an entrepreneur, owner of a business, you don't shine up your business every day to look good. And so it really takes sometimes a third party to make your company look good. The first, the CIM, Confidential Information Memorandum, most founders and business owners don't sit around and create 150 pages, 150 slides on your own business. But SEG, for some reason, could do that and did it beautifully. So I couldn't have done that myself. The second thing that SEG did was gave us the templates for what potential buyers might look for. And specifically things that would come up in due diligence and or assuage fears proactively. And so having those templates and being able to fill them out with the systems, for instance, Salesforce, that we had, put us ahead of the game.
Now that you've been through 2 processes, what do you wish you would have known beforehand?
The number one thing I wish I'd known the first time is that SEG existed. Because we went with a mid-market investment bank whose name and brand name you would recognize, and it was a very shoddy process. It took more than 9 months, probably almost 12 months, and I don't think we got a deal closed the first time. Had SEG run it, I think we would have done much better. I believe SEG helped for a very important reason we haven't talked about yet. One is not only the purchase price, but the second is terms, and specifically the terms of not having an earnout, not having seller financing, and not having golden handcuffs. Those are very important. Those were very important terms to me, and SEG was able to fulfill on not having any of those.
For founders who are in the same place as you were a few years back, what would be your advice to them?
My first bit of advice to founders who are thinking about an exit or recapitalization of their business, the first thing I would say is you need to run a process. You could run it yourself, but it's much better with an advisor. The second is just do it. I think a lot of people overthink it. If you want to do it, you should just do it. You can always choose to stay in the business. And then the third bit of advice is relax. If you can put the process in someone else's hands, it helps you relax a lot more. It's an experience, and it's a fun experience, especially if you have someone to guide you.
That's great advice. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
It's been fun. Thank you for having me.